Well, here we are again. You would think that I would have run out of words by now, but I haven't. I'm pretty sure I've got some more up my sleeve, because today I'm going to share the words of a really smart and interesting lady who helps people tame time. Now, that sounds very sci-fi, but I think she's going to share a few little tips with us on how we can do that, because I'm sure most of us are wasting a lot of time at the moment. Today, I'm joined by the amazing Barbara Clifford, all the way from Alice Springs. Hey, Barbara, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
That's okay. You look like you've been out getting active. Or
I have. It's been a productive morning this morning. So I've been out doing a walk, but it meant that ironically, I didn't have time to get changed. By the time I got back, I didn't have time to get changed. So you're seeing me in my Wonder Woman outfit, my walking hat. Yes, I look like a fitness instructor, not an advisor.
well, I suppose being an advisor is really about helping people keep fit in other ways, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit. So your business is called the Time Tamer, and you help people reduce stress and make the most of their time. How do we do that? Because we've all got the same amount of time. Where are we going wrong?
It's there's no simple answer to that, obviously, but one thing that is really common for all of us is it's about making good use of the time. So people love laughing at me when I'm late to a meeting or an appointment. They go, "Oh, you're the time tamer, and look at you, you're late." But the point is about getting the most out of the time that we're spending, and the key to that, the key elements are about prioritization, about procrastination, about our values, what's actually really important, because sometimes we waste time on things that aren't important or not going to give us the results that we're actually looking for. So it's those elements in terms of being effective and not causing yourself stress through that process as well. Yeah.
I guess we do. Like, I know that I get stressed if I'm running late for a meeting, and someone once said to me, it shows disrespect to the people that you're meeting if you're late. What do you think? Or do you think that sometimes things get in the way and you're just late? Or is it because I'm not using my time properly?
Do you know that the interesting thing is that the most productive people will often be late, because what they're doing is trying to squeeze in one more thing before they go to an appointment, and then that's what causes them to be late. So it's not that somebody is being lazy necessarily. It can be that too, but it's quite common for productive people to be late to appointments, because they're so busy doing something, and they think that they can just fit in one more thing. They just haven't been realistic about how long it would take to complete something, and then they've had to complete it before they can actually leave to go to the dinner table or to an appointment on the other side of the city.
Oh my,
whatever it is.
you've been watching me, because that sounds exactly like me. I'm like that. It's like, I can just fit this in before I go, and then I get so consumed in what I'm doing, I look up and go, oh my God, 45 minutes has gone. I'm so late.
Well, the trick to that is that you actually you factor in travel time wherever you're going. So, I mean, it's for me in Alice Springs, it's not my travel time's really short. But when I lived in Brisbane, it would be anywhere from half an hour to an hour and a half, depending on where I was going. And so, particularly if you've got an electronic diary and it sets reminders, it goes ding when an appointment's 15 minutes away. I know my reminder's not 15 minutes from the appointment, it's 15 minutes from when I actually have to leave. So it's a reminder for me to start stopping what I'm doing, because I'm going to have to get in the car in a minute.
That's a really handy tip. When I have appointments that I can drive to again, I think I'll remember that, because I always put my reminders 15 minutes before the meeting starts, and then go, oh, bugger, I've got to drive 20 minutes to get there. I'm going to be late.
I would actually put the travel time into your diary. So if you, and especially when you live in the city, that even if it's only 15 minutes away, you allow 5 minutes for parking, because if you are driving to an appointment, you still have to find a car park. So even if it only takes you 15 minutes to get there, you've still got to park the car. I mean, even if you don't have to find a park, you've got to bundle together yourself, settle yourself, get yourself organized. You don't want to be rushing into a meeting. You want to, the worst case scenario is that you're sitting in your car for 5 minutes. Is that such a bad thing? Wouldn't be a bad thing to then go into your appointment, your meeting, calm and collected.
Yeah, I like doing that because you can sit there and spend an extra 5 minutes on Facebook. Yeah.
Exactly.
What we all need to be doing is spending more Facebook. I was listening to someone, their Facebook Live yesterday, and she was saying that there's 40% more people on Facebook at the moment. And it's probably a good thing that a lot of us have nothing to do because we do have time to spare.
Yeah. And it's interesting you were talking about, you mentioned stress, and people often ask why the relationship of what I do stress management and time management, but they go hand in hand. And so if you are stressed, you can't be productive. And sometimes if you can't be productive, you can't manage your time, that causes you stress. So they very much go hand in hand. And there's a lot of talk at the moment. There's two camps. Some people are comfortable with change and are comfortable with this environment and enjoying the challenge and looking at the opportunity, whether it be in business or themselves, to improve and develop, and excited by that challenge. And then there's another group of people that are absolutely traumatized because they don't like being outside of a comfort zone. They don't like things being different from normal. And so the one camp is going, yay, get out there and learn something, be productive, go and do these things. And the other group's going, you're freaking me out. I'm feeling pressured by you. You know, just all I want to do is just breathe and go for a walk, and you're telling me I have to go and learn a new language. So it's
well, and it's interesting, isn't it? It's a little bit like I've named it the CES, the COVID emotional spectrum. So it's, you know, a little bit like the autism spectrum. So you go from go away, leave me alone, I'm in a sobbing heap, to the other extreme where it's like, all right, yeah, I'm ready to take over the world, bring it on, nothing can touch me. And in the middle where it's kind of like, okay, I found a bit of zen here and I'm ready to go. I imagine there's people just going backwards and forwards across that CES like they're on speed or something. You know, are you finding that it's people are struggling to work out how they should be feeling at the moment?
I think, yeah, like I said, it's people feel change is never comfortable. It's about feeling comfortable with that change. When things were really things changed very, very quickly over a short period of time. It feels like it's been months, but things have just happened so fast. And so that's why too people are going through this roller coaster, because just when you feel like you've got things under control, it goes out of control again. And that's the thing is about change. Is that, like I said, change is uncomfortable for everybody, but it's about being comfortable with the process and being able to adapt with things as they arise. So for example, one of the things that I teach people in terms of time management and stress management is assertiveness techniques. Quite often people will be stressed because they don't have the communication and language skill to be able to communicate their wants and needs in a way that's either professional or emotionally intelligent. And part of being assertive is knowing that you can make a decision, knowing that whatever the outcome, good or bad, you'll be able to deal with it, because you're able to communicate and assert your needs and adapt and deal with the consequence. That's where the confidence side of things comes from, being assertive. And so with change, it's about feeling comfortable in the process that no matter what happens, I will have the skill and resource to be able to deal with it. I'll be able to manage it.
So the people that we're talking about, the ones who are struggling with change at the moment, and the reason I reached out to you was because you posted something and said about finding order in chaos, and that really intrigued me because it is quite chaotic at the moment, and I can see people struggling whose routines have been upset. They can't connect with, their loved ones and their friends. They've lost their businesses or lost their jobs, and like the world has literally fallen on top of them. What are some of the ways that they can start taking like little steps? Because like change isn't, I mean, as you just said, we're experiencing change on an absolutely massive and frenetic scale. How do we get control in that chaos so that we can find some solid ground as we move forward?
Yeah, and so for me, the passion that I have in terms of creating that order out of chaos, it's about making sense of chaos, making sense of things, finding the value in things, finding the simplest way, the shortest path. Even though I like to overcomplicate things and I love detail, it's about, it might be, do you remember those books, the Choose Your Own Adventure books, when you were, do you remember those? Yeah. So you go to page 7 or if you're going to go down this path, choose page 7. If you're going to go this path, go to page 13. And I used to love testing all the different variables. And so for me, it's I like looking at all the variables and then choosing the simplest one. That's what I like doing for people. Other people find that absolutely nuts. So for what the advice that I give to people right now is to be able to just focus on what's within your control. Alcoholics Anonymous adopted the Serenity Prayer, and I can never remember it off by heart, but most people will know it. And the prayer goes along the lines of, God, grant me the wisdom to know what's in my control and what's not, and wisdom to know the difference between the two. It's along those lines. You know the one I'm talking about? It's a really, really common one. And so it's basically, and that's why for Alcoholics Anonymous, it's just focus on what's within your control. So life can be chaotic, and when you've got an addictive personality, I imagine that's where the triggers can be. So it's just focusing on what's within your control at the moment. Part of the stress that people experience is what's called anticipatory stress. It is the what's going to happen, what if, and what if this is going to happen, what's going to happen here, and what's going to happen over there, and what about mum, and what about all of this, and then it's too much. So we just focus on what's within our control right now. And the other interesting thing about stress and about productivity is it's interesting in terms of how our body experiences stress and how our mind responds to the anxiety that's associated with stress. Anxiety and excitement are like they're on the same spectrum. And to explain it to people, I talk about the roller coaster ride. You know, when you're on your roller coaster and you're going, oh my God, I'm going to die. Whoa, this is fun. Oh, I'm going to die. Whoa, this is fun. And so there's a mix of anxiety and excitement. And so what we can do is trick our brain. There's a part of our brain called the amygdala, which is, I say it's like a smoke alarm. And you know when you burn toast and the smoke alarm goes off, and you go, smoke alarm, it's just burnt toast, relax. But the smoke alarm doesn't know whether it's an emergency or not. Oh, it goes off. And our amygdala in our brain is very, very primal. It's a part of our brain that says, if there is a threat, release the hounds. But a threat can be a threat to our well-being. So if you've lost your mobile phone, shit, where's my phone? Where's my phone? I've lost my phone. Oh my God, did I leave it in the shopping center? Oh no, there it is. It's in the bottom of my handbag. And so that's a threat to our well-being. Even though I'm not going to die, my amygdala sees that I am threatened and releases hormones into my system for me to respond. So when we start to feel anxious, what we can do is actually, rather than saying, I'm anxious, I'm really nervous, I'm worried, force ourselves to say, I'm excited, which goes against the grain. But if you keep saying, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited, our brain then goes, what? And looks for evidence of why there is excitement. What is there to be excited about? And so what it does is, rather than imploding and being protective because you're anxious and trying to protect yourself, your body, your amygdala goes, oh, it's safe. Okay, it's safe. There's not a threat here. Slows down the stress response hormones, and your brain looks for evidence of why to be excited, which means that you then start to look at opportunity. When you thought there was no hope, absolutely nothing you could do, your brain might suddenly open up and then go, there is a glimmer of hope down that path to be excited about. So it's really, really powerful tool.
I have a 15-year-old son, but when he was younger and he was diagnosed with autism, I learned a lot about the amygdala. And one of the strategies that his support workers used to use, especially when he would have a freak out, is they made a bottle of water or something and they put sparkles in it. So when he went and lost it, they'd shake the bottle up and they'd get him to sit and look at that bottle as the sparkle settled in it. And that would give his amygdala enough time to refocus and go, okay, it's not as bad as what I think it is. And then
Yes.
start thinking a little bit more logically and rationally, because when your amygdala, like you said, your amygdala is going off, you're not thinking like, this is normal or it's going to be okay. You're thinking that you're Chicken Little and the sky's falling.
Totally, because it's a primal response, so it's not rational. And because we all experience stress in different ways, exactly what you're talking about, your son will, what's stressful for him is not stressful for me, and vice versa. What would be stressful for him, he would be totally able to deal with. We all respond to situations differently and have a different stress response. So yeah, and our amygdala is so primal. It means that sometimes in stress states we will do things that are completely irrational to other people, but it's because it's a different part of our brain that's firing off. It's a very primal part of our brain that operates out of instinct, and it's the prefrontal cortex. That's like the CEO of your brain. That's the one. Now, okay, everybody, just calm down. Let's be rational here. Let's think this through. That's that part of the brain that can override the amygdala. Yeah, so you're forcing your brain to have a thought and a thinking process, which calms the amygdala down.
I really liked, I was, obviously sussing you out a little bit more in depth ahead of us having a chat. And you ran a workshop on boosting your emotional immunity. And I find that really intriguing. And I know that you had people that you booked in, but would you share some of the things that we can do to boost our emotional immunity? Because I guess we all need a little bit of a booster at the moment.
Yeah, so one of those things was exactly that tool that I said before. That was one of the tools that I gave to people, was to be able to change your thinking, change the language. And there's actually scientific evidence that proves that if you change the language that you use in your mind, it changes your physical response, because you're talking to the amygdala. It'll actually slow down the hormonal response. There's a brilliant TED talk by a woman called Kelly McGonigal called Make Stress Your Friend. And in that, she actually cites a whole range of different study that's been done around how changing the way you think about stress will change the way your body responds to it. So just shifting language, people underestimate it and they think it's woo-woo, but there's actually a physical response to it. The other one that's really powerful, again, it's people think it's a bit woo-woo, but when you're stressed, people say, breathe, just breathe. Yeah, great, thanks. Really helpful. Yeah. But again, there is scientific evidence in terms of how effective breath is in controlling our breath. So the autonomic nervous system is the way that our body automatically responds to different situations. So when we're in a dangerous situation, things will speed up. And then when we need to rest and recuperate and rejuvenate, our body will slow down. There's different things that we can't control. That's the way that our body works as a survival mechanism. Breath is automatic. If I hold my breath, eventually my body will force me to take a breath. That's the autonomic response. I have to take a breath. However, it's the one autonomic response. It's the only one that we can actually have a level of control over. And what happens when we're stressed typically is that our breathing becomes shallow, our shoulders and our chest. I know that happens for me. Our shoulders and chest become really tight. So the moment we feel stress, the best thing we can do is check in with our breathing. The easiest thing to do is to put your hands on your belly and pretend your belly is a balloon and push your hands in and out. Force your breath to push your hands in and out. What that does is force you to do really low and deep and slow breathing. And when you're in that breath state, that's when your shoulders actually have to drop to allow the oxygen to come into your system. And by doing that, your diaphragm is moving a lot more for those big low breaths. And it also stimulates your vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is what sends messages to all the vital organs, which you need in a stress state. And it also releases little doses of dopamine, which counteract the production of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So there's all this science around breathing, and we just dismiss it like, that's a bit woo-woo and airy-fairy. But if you can take stock of your breath in those moments, it's the easiest thing to do. And just remember low and slow. That's all you have to remember. Not breathing nice and low and deep, and as slow as possible. Yeah, low and slow.
Slow. So we could make a song out of that, Barbara.
Yeah.
As you were saying that, it sounded to me like the Breaking Bad of the body. You know, dopamine and vagus nerves, and you mix it all together and you're zen, baby. You're zen.
Yeah, when I do talks to people, I did one to high school students before all of this happened. It was at the beginning of the year. It was year 12 students I did a talk to them about time management and stress management. With the stress management one, I said to them, yeah, but did you know you've got a drug straw in your brain? And by the end of the day, I'm going to give you a natural high. And they're all, oh my God. Yeah, like, what is this? I said, yep, I'm going to show you how to release natural drugs into your system. And they're freaking out and shattering. But what I did with them was actually a really intense laughter therapy activity. And so it gave them that natural high. It released all the dopamines and some of the feel-good hormones. And I said, then made them aware of how they were feeling. Do you feel really hyped? Do you feel really high? And they recognized what was happening. Yeah.
Well, and I guess that's another way. So you're talking about breath to release, the dopamine and fill your body with, life enriching oxygen. But having a good laugh is another way that we can get through this. And I know a lot of people are probably going, well, what's there to laugh about? But if we want to have that emotional immunity, then we've got to keep laughing, don't we?
Yeah, look, a lot of people will have heard of the Mayo Clinic, and I can't remember the name of the doctor, but he was through the Mayo Clinic. He was doing in the 80s. He was doing surgery on people with chronic back pain and prescribing them drugs to deal with their pain. And then he did this research about natural hormone release and the relationship with pain therapy. And one in particular is the endorphins. And most people, we now know a lot about endorphins, and it's the ecstasy and MDA and all of those drugs actually cause our body to overproduce that particular hormone. But what he discovered is that by prescribing people laughter therapy 3 times a day, it actually reduced their pain by 15 to 20%. So he was actually able to reduce their pain medication. And the laughter therapy was purely them standing in front of the mirror and forcing themselves to laugh for 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, we don't have to do that, but one of the things we can do, particularly if we're feeling really overwhelmed, is I tell people to go onto YouTube and search contagious laughter compilations. There's a lot of them out there, and basically people put together a whole range of things of other people laughing or things that will make you laugh, and you will not be able to help but laugh out loud at some of those things. And it's just mindless. You're just watching, like a goldfish, a series of things that happen. But it means you stop thinking about what's ever stressing you out because you've got that moment of entertainment. You're laughing, which is giving you the little boost of endorphins and dopamines, which again slows down the production of cortisol.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, everyone, you need to be doing that stuff from the sounds of it. That sounds much better than an extra bottle of wine a night.
Exactly.
Who needs that? Your liver certainly doesn't. Barbara, thank you so much for joining me. Like, I've written so many notes. I'm going to go and look up Kelly McGonagall. She related to Mrs. McGonagall in Harry Potter. That's what I want to know.
Mm.
Having a good laugh. I love the idea of contagious laughter. And I want to do a little bit more reading on the amygdala, because I guess, I know I've just said thank you and I'm wrapping up, and then I go, oh, I've got another question. By understanding the way that we respond to life's events and to stresses and to, especially what's going on now, by understanding, does that give us power over the situation?
Totally, because particularly if you can understand how your body responds, then you know why you're feeling a particular way. And then again, it's your prefrontal cortex that can override some of those things. We can start to have a level of awareness. We start to become aware of what will be triggers for us, where we're going to be in a stressed state. And it's about being preventative rather than reactive. So rather than falling in a heap and having to self-medicate with a glass of wine, is that, which I know we all do it, but you can actually go, I know that this is going to be stressful for me, or I know that identifying I am stressed right now, because sometimes you don't know when you're stressed. And if you can identify that, then you can have the simple tools like the breathing and a range of other things that can just keep you safe and allow your stress to work for you rather than controlling you.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. You are an absolute wonder to speak to, Barbara. Thank you so much. Enjoy the hippie centre of Australia, as you were telling me, in Alice Springs. And we look forward to you sharing some of the amazing knowledge that you have in Obsessed With. I think people are obsessed with you and your amazing knowledge.
Thank you. Thanks for chatting with me.